What's going on, everybody? Prophecy Wiz, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about 5 tech cards that I think you should consider for the upcoming NAWCQ and National season. So, I first wanted to apologize for the brief hiatus. I was spending just a little bit of time. I was still playing and streaming, but I took just a few weeks off of YouTube videos because I wanted to spend some time with family and all that good stuff before I really locked in for the national season, which is starting now. I will be playing 7 days a week, playing double regionals every single weekend. I will be streaming at _, every Monday through Friday, and I will be grinding and posting 1 to 2 videos every single week from here on out. So I appreciate everybody, and let's get right into it. So the first card I wanted to take a moment to talk about is going to be Frame Gear Delta. So Delta is an interesting card. Delta is a card that I've talked about in the past, and the really cool thing about Delta right now is that it's an additional way to stop the Mitsurugi Ritual spell. As we move forward in this format, Malice has actually become a little bit less represented, and the Mitsurugi deck is just picking up and up and up in steam. And I think having additional ways, like everybody knows how strong Impulse is into that deck, and I think that Delta really just does what Impulse does, right? It stops the Ritual spell, which I think is just really, really important against that deck. I think it cuts off whether or not they're playing Pure or they're playing the Ryziel version, which I think is a bit more represented. I think that it's a really big deal to just be able to cut off their ritual plays, and generally they don't have another way of getting back to that. So once you stop them with the Delta, their Mitsurugi plays are done for the turn, which I think is just huge. And then you're kind of just playing against like a weaker version of Ryziel, right? And they have to draw back into that Mitsurugi card. So I think Frame Gear Delta is a card that you definitely should consider in your side deck. It's a really good card against Mitsurugi, and especially for the decks that can't play Impulse, it gives you kind of that effect. And even the decks that can play Impulse, obviously you'd have to Delta first, but I think it's just really, really strong, and definitely something that you should consider. So the next card on the list that I think people should take into consideration is Mischief of the Gnomes. Mischief of the Gnomes is something interesting. It's something I've played around with a little bit in Labyrinth. But I think it's just generally a good card. I think it's an interesting thrust target. I think it's very good against the pure Ryziel deck, and I think it still can be pretty good against the Mitsurugi Ryziel deck as well. And even if you time it appropriately against the pure Mitsurugi decks, because you can chain it to the ritual spell in the pure Mitsurugi deck, because you don't need to stop any of like the hand things for what you would want to do against like the Ryziel. But I think Mischief of the Gnomes is really cool, and one of the obvious cool things about it is that you can use it twice. I think being able to use a card like that 2 times is just game-breaking. Like, anything that you can use more than 1 time is really, really strong, and I just think against the Mitsurugi cards and the Ryziel cards, and I think the pure Ryziel deck is really, really good against. I think the Carl Magni version is going to pick up a little bit of steam, and I also think that with the new Utopia Onomatopoeia type cards coming out for Nationals, there's definitely going to be a bit more of the pure Ryziel. I think pure Ryziel is going to show out more than people expect, and I think that that card just gives you just an absolute blowout twice. There's obviously Dimensional Barrier that can be used against more decks. Dimensional Barrier is definitely like a great option as well, but Mischief of the Gnomes I think is going to be a card that picks up a little bit of steam, especially with pure Ryziel picking up, and the Mitsurugi Ryziel and the pure Mitsurugi deck all being good. I think it's a great choice. Obviously, it's a really and only going first card unless you're playing something like Labyrinth. But nonetheless, even so, like, you can use it as a thrust target or just drawing it is just a great card. So something that I think you should take into consideration is Mischief of the Gnomes. The next card is going to be Songs of the Dominators. This card is another one. I mean, if you happen to be playing Labyrinth, it's the best card in the game. The card's really changed the entire dynamic of my deck in general, playing Labyrinth. However, it's not just a card that's made for trap decks. I think a lot of people just wrote this card off because of the stipulation going second, and obviously you can't just play it going second in a lot of different decks for the obvious reasons. However, I have seen people talking about playing this card as a thrust target, or just playing it as something you need to hard draw in certain decks that can just set up a single or multiple trap cards. A good example is, like the pure Mitsurugi deck, for example, right? When they go first, they're always setting up the trap card, and then like they can use that trap card and then like have set the Songs of the Dominators. Now Songs of the Dominators are going to negate and Surge Impulse to negate. So like that's just crazy value wise, and Impulse is so good right now that any additional ways to Surge Impulse is so good. Going first, if you said it has no restrictions, and I just think that it was important to mention because the Mitsurugi deck and even the Mitsurugi Raizio, like whichever version is searching, it's hard searching the trap card after siding. And I think that given that you're hard searching a trap card, you'll always have a trap in graveyard and be able to negate a thing on field and then also search Impulse. And then again, like if you're playing like a Malice deck, it's the same thing, that you're always like using a trap card on turn 1 or turn 0 or turn 1. And you'll always have a trap card in the graveyard, so you'll always be able to like search out Impulse and like use it as 2 different interruptions. And then if you happen to be playing a trap card, it's the best card in the deck, it's Egyptian God card. So I thought it was really important to bring up. I feel like people have been sleeping on this card a little bit. I know I had like a buyout, but I feel like nobody has really sat down and talked about how actually good this card is and the different types of applications, that it's just crazy going first in those types of situations. And so many other decks outside of just those two are using trap cards on turn 1, right? Like, even if you're playing Voiceless, like, you're setting up the trap card 100% of the time. You're going to use that to pop, and then Songs of the Dominators can just activate and then search Dominus Purge, right? Like, that's a big deal. That's something that you should be considering if you're happy to be playing a Voiceless deck or etc. So, even if I haven't mentioned one of the decks that you're playing, I think you should consider this card if you're, you know what I mean? If you happen to play a Dominus card, like, think about, like, hey, do I have a way to get trap cards involved turn 0? Because if so, maybe I should consider siding this card. And obviously, if you're playing a trap deck, please, for the love of God, main deck it. So the next card that I wanted to talk about is going to be the Black Goat Laughs. I know that this is the third trap card that I'm mentioning. I feel like trap cards tend to be the most slept on. I feel like everybody's always talking about different hand traps or board breakers or quick, but people are always like leaving out the trap cards because they're slow, but people are also citing Solemn Strikes and Friends. So, like, people are citing trap cards, and I think it's just a good thing, especially going into NAWCQ season. It's the most important tournament of the year. I think you really need to consider all of your options, no matter what deck you're playing, and I really want to help everybody else do well. And I think that you don't really see people playing these kinds of cards a lot, so I wanted to make them known. Even if you know about the cards, a lot of people aren't thinking, oh, I should side Black Goat Laughs. But this card, in my experience, has been like it's almost like a pseudo D-barrier with additional. Obviously, it doesn't cut off an entire mechanic. However, it is really cool to cut off like single cards. Like if you're playing against a pure Raziel deck and you just call Detonator, that's a big deal. Like saying you're not going to summon Detonator against Raziel is nuts. Against the Mitsurugi deck, it can, like when they activate the ritual spell, you can chain it and call, like generally they'll use the new ritual monster to tribute Saji from deck, Saji for ritual spell, activate ritual spell to summon that one from hand, and then tribute monsters from deck. And if you call the monster from hand, like they're only usually playing one of the original blue guy, so that's usually just gonna fizzle out. And like now you also have Black Goat Laughs in the graveyard for one of the preceding turns, which is really good. Like it cuts off. You know what I mean? It's almost as if you had Impulse, the ritual spell, in that certain situation. And then also you get, like, infinite additional. So, right, but you also could chain it to Feather Duster and Lightning Storm, etc. I think the card's really cool for certain applications like that. If you have any kind of discards, I think Black Goat Laughs is definitely just like an underrated card. Even if you're playing against Malice and you're like, man, Whitebinder's really crazy, or I don't want them to summon so-and-so thing. Like, you could call anything, right, against Raziel decks. If they start with Bonfire, 7th attack down, and search X Raziel, you could flip that and call X Raziel, and like now that cuts off quite a bit oftentimes. It's really, really big deal. And I think it's just a card that you guys should consider given the fact that it gets like the second application out of it. And I wanted to make sure that everybody is remembering that these cards exist and taking them into consideration. So for the last card on the list that I wanted to take a moment to talk about, this card is going to be in a similar vein. And if you guys want to see a video of all going second cards that I think are going to be good for the NAWCQ season, please let me know. I know Delta was a going second card, but then we kind of veered towards some going first cards. Please let me know. I'm happy to bring that out. I'm going to be posting once or twice a week, every week until Nationals and then after Nationals as well. I'm really getting into the grind now, and I'll be playing Infinite. So the next card that I wanted to take a second to talk about is going to be Mistaken Arrest. Mistaken Arrest, I think, is crazy against Mitsurugi decks, Raziel decks, and a lot of like other rogue decks as well that are going to be halfway decent moving forward. Mistaken Arrest is just a crazy going first card. You could chain to whatever, so if they try to use, prayers in the draw phase or whatnot, you just chain to it. I think that's crazy. And yeah, I mean, this card should be, needless to say, but I haven't seen a lot of people playing it. There is also Original Mistake as well, which I have not seen a single person even think about playing in years. But I do think that card is still strong. Like, I'm not. I think that a lot of decks don't need to search as much as like others, even if you're cutting off like certain little cards. Something like a Mistake that's like, hey, you're not going to be searching this game. Like, if you go first and flip that card in response to something, it trades 1-for-1. And then even if they can deal with it, they're going to have to. It's usually going to be Neg trying to deal with it. So I think that card is really, really, really strong. And definitely should be taken into some sort of consideration. Mistake and Mistaken Arrest are both just like really strong cards. I feel like Mistake has like been one that I haven't seen somebody play in years, but the card is still strong. Like, I feel like the Malice deck does search, but it doesn't search that crazy much that like if you can set up like moderately decent board, you can just kick your opponent's teeth in with Mistake, as well as like in certain other decks as well. So just wanted to give you guys some of those cards. Let me know if you guys want to see more cards. What kind of videos you guys want to see next? I'm playing in a ton of DB tournaments this week moving forward, and should have some gameplay replays of Labyrinth coming out, of money matches and tournaments and all that good stuff. So let me know if that's something you guys want to see, and let me know what you guys want to see next. So thank you guys all so much. I really appreciate your continued support, and I will see you guys next time.